Hello, my friends. Jacob Israel is here again. Good morning to everybody. I am so very happy that all of you are here. Do me a favor, give me that sound check. Let me know if you can hear me okay, if the sound is good, so we can get this program rocking and rolling. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today, a lot of interesting things to talk about. Wow. What is this thumbnail all about, huh? Welcome to the show. I really do appreciate all of you. I'm so happy that we've all come together on this day to talk about the Great Delusion. And what is the Great Delusion? That is a question. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of interest. We're going to get into it. And is it part of what's happening in the world right now, or is this a spiritual thing? Is this something that we need to consider spiritually? Of course we do. We need to, of course, consider this spiritually. Now, look, I'm going to give you a little, I'm going to give you what do they call a disclaimer, okay? I'm not like a political guy. I don't really choose sides. I'm not, for Trump, against Trump. I'm not for Biden, against Biden. I have a tendency of just feeling like I wish there was somebody that I could believe in, And because you got to look at the tree and you got to look at the fruit of the tree. And when you start to add it all up, you start to think, well, maybe the people that are in charge really aren't, maybe they aren't so great, especially with what we see happening. What happened on August 8th, of all things. Holy macaroni. Was that something else, right? And a lot of people are very up in arms about this. This is crazy. I put a post up on Twitter. This is when it kind of first came out. I don't know if you've read this, but yeah, these are dark times, right? Dark MAGA and dark Brandon times. I don't know if you've seen all the memes going around. Everybody's got darkness on their mind. I wonder why that is. Wonder if it has something to do with the fact that there is quite a bit of darkness going on in the land today. It's pretty creepy. Pretty creepy. So I said, look, this is crazy. Many people are getting mad, especially when you got the old Hunter. That place that I'm aware of hasn't been raided. So, of course, you would think that you'd be looking into all this stuff because there's been a lot of spooky stuff coming out with that laptop from hell, which, of course, we've been talking about on the channel for a long time. And I still think that it's going to be a linchpin in what's happening probably over the next month or two. Why did they find, why do they find nothing there, but all of a sudden they're looking for everything over here? It appears to be really, really wrong, unless of course, this makes the Trumpster more popular than ever, and it enrages people to really just rally behind him. And then if he's back in power, see, here's the thing, right? So if he's back in power, this is my question. And I'm not saying he's going to be back in power. I'm not saying that he is. I mean, it seems like he has a lot of power right now already. Seems like all of his, the Middle East plan, the deal of the century, all that stuff that Kushner's behind, that all went through. It's not like anything, everything's kind of going according to lockstep. It's the question becomes, is there something more to it? Is it great political theater? I don't know, but I do know that we hear this a lot. We're hearing a lot about the old Civil War. Even Tim Pool was talking about this. And, you start to think, do they really want this? Like, do we have to, every time, there's some kind of disagreement or crazy breach of people's civil liberties and rights? This is a really weird time to be alive. I know that you're all excited about it because we know that God is in control and that everything's working together. And there is a war going on within, so why wouldn't there be a war going on without, right? So these tweets are spiking because, of course, what just happened. And we've seen, one thing after another turned out to not be true, paid for by bad people, the other side. And they seem to be getting away with everything. But the question remains, when you chant the word lock her up, lock her up, lock her up, and you say the first thing I'm going to do when I get into office is get a special counsel and prosecute you. And the first thing that the Trumpster did with Hillary was tell the nation that we owe her a debt of gratitude. you start to say, well, I don't know. That just sounds like it's contradictory. It sounds like doesn't sound true to me. But once again, that could be political theater too. That could be all part of the plan. I don't know, right? You heard the old trust the plan everybody says all the time. I'm not into that stuff. I'm not into it. I think all this stuff is just to mess with people. I think we need to come together and love. So, especially since, I was at the gym yesterday and I wrote this little poem. Nothing is as it appears to be, said the Christ to Pharaoh's fleas. You gnash, cry, and crawl, praising Pharaoh through it all, while the love of God you never seek. And so a grand delusion, you've been sold because you refuse to come to me. A liar from the beginning, you'll soon see. For this reason, there's a quote, we're going to talk about this in a little while, God sends them a powerful delusion. Delusion just means you're deluded. You can't think straight. You're brainwashed. You can't think straight. So that they'll believe the lie, and so that in believing the lie, they'll be condemned because they have not believed the truth and they've delighted in wickedness. Do you delight in wickedness? Do you want to see people on the other side? Do you want to see them roughed up? Do you want that? Is that something that you're into, or do you want to see people come together? Do you want to see love, and you want to see hope? Do you want to see charity? Do you want to see compassion? These are the things. Now, all of this is it's bringing us somewhere. It's bringing us somewhere, and the date was very, very significant. Very significant. Okay. This was on August 8th. Okay, now I was expecting a lot of things to happen on August 8th, and so I was not disappointed. Give me 1 second. I got to grab something. Come on here, and I forgot to bring my water. This job it's detrimental to the vocal cords if you don't keep yourself lubricated. So I got to keep drinking the water, the agua, my alkaline. Here, let me show you my alkaline water because, with the Crohn's disease and all the other autoimmune issues I've had my whole life, this has helped me. I used to get a lot of bad reflux. So alkaline water if you want. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't even know who they are. I just picked it up at the local store. So there was obviously, let's go to the chat. Is anybody not aware of what went down on 8/8? Anybody not aware of all this? Because it seems like everybody knows. And it does feel very, very, just feels bad, right? Doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like when they raided his home, the people that support him, didn't it feel like they raided yours? But should we support him? I don't know. Should we not support him? I don't know. That's the trick of this whole thing. And it's almost like it's done on purpose. If you can't know the truth, how can you ever be led in the right direction? How can you? And okay, so let's get into a little weird stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff surrounding this. I don't know if you saw, people talking about this, but this was like one of the first things that popped up to me. Donnie Darkened on Twitter, who watches the show. I was very happy to hear that. He puts out some interesting things. He put out the whole fact that it was 8/8/2022, and I'm sure somebody else got this first, but this is where I saw it. Text Trump 88022. And it's very strange. It's very strange. Very strange. Not just that. Okay, so, and that's, by the way, that's on my thumbnail. If you take a look right up top, that was his when he was running, for the I guess it was the re-election campaign. That's it. Text to Trump 8/8/2022. 8/8/2022 is a significant date. You probably don't know about it. You probably never heard of anything called Ashura. We're going to get into it. Has to do with Moses, has to do with the Egyptians, has to do with Israel being set free from a tyrant. A tyrant. So, is this a picture of us being set free from, we're biding our time with the tyrant that's in charge now? I don't know. Or is this kind of a heads up that a tyrant is coming? I don't know. magazine covers and everything else seem to paint the Trumpster this way. I'd like to think better of the man, but I don't know. I don't know. And you'll find out why. If you haven't been watching the channel for a long time, I've had a lot of interesting coincidence with him. I've done a lot of interesting programs with the Trumpster. And so you just don't know. You just don't know. But I do know this. This was weird. Take a look at this. So when he became president, his first day back to, his home, Mar-a-Lago, which means sea to the lake or sea to lake, which is interesting, of course, because the sea is significant of man's unrepentant ways, and it's all just sus. Very sus. Just going to lower my fan a little bit here. I got a fan going so I don't sweat too much. But 66 months and 6 days between that and August 8th. That's cool. I mean, it's freaky and maybe just a coincidence. But when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's cool. There are some other things that were cool, too, that Donnie put out. I don't have all of it, I don't have all of it, but I will say that it's enough to make you think, maybe there's more. I don't know. I looked into a lot of this. All of it's strange. All of it's strange. Now, what's weirder is I just did a show, and I don't even know if I have this yet. I'll pull it up in a second, but I just did a show about Trump and the Space Force hat, the official Donald Trump Space Force hat, which kind of looked like the Baphomet upside down. I'm going to show it to you in a second. Before we get into that, though, the question remains. On 8/8, this is a holiday for Islam. It's called Ashura. And what it is it's a celebration of, two things. But the first thing would be the deliverance of, the people from the tyrant, from Pharaoh. It's very cool. Very cool, very cool indeed, especially with what's going on. But the question becomes, are we being set up for this kind of authoritarianism, which I feel like is already in the works? Do we need to be delivered from it now, or is it just taking root? I think that the powers that be behind the scenes, once again, I'm just a speculator. I'm just an author. If I was to write this as a movie, and right now this is just a pitch to let's talk about all the stuff that could be happening, none of this is to be taken as a literal proof. Okay, so don't go thinking that Donald Trump is some great wizard. Even though that he was called the great magician, that's meant to usher in the new age by Abramovich, who is just watch some of my old shows, or just because he's known as the Wizard of Oz, Dr. Oz. We're gonna get into all this, but is this a setup for something bigger? Well, it sure sounds that way, and it freaks me out a little bit. Okay, because here's Marco Rubio. Which, by the way, I put him in the thumbnail because I'm going to be talking about him a lot. He's got a lot to say lately. So this was on August 7th. The Democrats just blocked my effort to try and force Soros-backed prosecutors to put dangerous criminals in jail. Now, we've noticed criminals being released. Crime is rampant in many cities and many states that are run by, we'll say, some say Democrats, right? Some Democratic states are fine, but some of them, not great ones, like Newsom. We see people just running into stores, grabbing a certain amount of food, doing whatever they want, stealing whatever they want, leaving. Can't do anything about it. People pitching tents, living in somebody's backyard. Can't do anything about it. Can't kick them off the property. A lot of this crazy stuff. They're not prosecuting crime. I just talked about DeSantis, who is, suspended or put on leave, this a district attorney or the AG, who won't prosecute. It's so, here we go. This is yet another guy saying, they're going to put dangerous criminals on the street. And I said, does anyone think it's possible that they're not prosecuting crime and letting violence rage so people will cry out for a police state? This is my concern. I'm a little concerned. It's why are they doing it? Doesn't make any sense, right? People will get sick of it. They would only worry about people getting sick of it if they had to worry about getting elected again. which tells me, because, you want the people that you're governing to like you because you want to be elected again. But they certainly aren't doing things that seem to be likable. So the question remains, are they worried about being elected again? Are they just, because we continue to see people put back in power, even though nobody wants them there, and people, rise up, and this is happening all around the world. And we're hearing more and more about the United States that this is like a third world country now. They did this in Nicaragua. They did this here. They did this. Rubio just did a whole thing. He did a whole thing, a video. I'll see if I can pull it up, where he talked about this. And him and his buddy Ted Cruz saying they're going to come after you. This is what the IRS is for now. This is crazy. And you know what was trending? I don't know if it was literally trending, but Susan Donahue put this up, and I got a kick out of it. You remember that Illuminati card, right? Does kind of look like the Trumpster screaming. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. So I suppose, I don't know if this is true once again, but I do feel like a lot of people are feeling the same way. How many people in the chat are feeling that way? Hey, and thank you so much, B-Man, for the super chat. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you. If you could do me a favor, listen, hit that like. I know I ask a lot. I know it annoys people, but I got to tell you something. If you could just X out of chat, just take a second to hit the like. I mean, we got like a third of the people did that already. And I know a lot more than a third of the people watch me more than just one time. So it would be helpful to me. I really do work hard on this. And just getting that little like, what it does is it tells more people, come and watch this show. And if more people can watch this show, I don't have to do the things that I worry about doing. Like, I don't want to bring on sponsors. I don't want to do all these things. Let YouTube and let the advertisers take care of this. But the way to do that is for you to help me. It's free. All you got to do is click it. And I see a lot of you doing it right now, and you all rock. And I'm just so thankful for you. And God bless all of you who are helping the channel to grow. It really, really means a lot. But how many of you feeling like enough's enough? I'm feeling like enough's enough. I got to be honest. It's, enough's enough already. Thank you, Bend Over said, I got you, brah. I love that. I love that. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, everybody. 77, Steve-O, Sandra, all of you who are hitting that like and you're doing your part. Wow, it means a lot to me. All right, let's get back into this. Enough is enough already, right? Like literally, enough's enough already. Let's go to the next one. Okay, let's take a look at what Rubio and those guys were saying, okay? I'm going to pull this up. Hopefully, it's still available right now. That's me. Hey, by the way, that's me on Twitter right there. Jacob Israel 71. Do me a favor. Twitter has become my place. Like, I'm always posting there, and you can take a look. Like, as I scroll down here, I'm always posting here. That was me and Ethan. We just saw a play together. It was so cute. All right. So here we go. Ted Cruz. Democrats are making the IRS bigger than the Pentagon, the Department of State, the FBI, and Border Patrol. You have something like 80,000 new IRS agents. And they're calling that the Inflation Reduction Act. I've talked about this. He says, those IRS, look at the messaging here. The IRS agents are coming after you, not billionaires or big corporations. So it's like, that's like, oh man, that makes me mad. And what is that really what they're doing? Because the other side's going to say no and all that stuff. But is that really what they're doing? I feel like it could be a possibility. That's why I've always told people on the channel, you should do the right thing. Follow the rule of law as long as it doesn't violate God's law. That's it. Then you could sleep at night. The scriptures say this, that, if you're not scheming and you're not, thieving, you go to bed at night, you rest your head in your pillow. You're not worried about them breaking down your door and raiding your house and going through your safe like they just did for the Trumpster, President Trump. It's a shame. Really is a shame. Whether or not it's real is, I question it. I question it because I'm thinking this is great theater. I'm a writer. This is great. This is exactly what you'd want. You'd want to get people so fired up before an election, that we just get the red wave. The red wave. The wave that took the Egyptians down. So then I wrote, why didn't you do more to make sure it wasn't put through? I know that it's not just his job alone, but if what you're saying is true, everyone who approved it, what, did they sell out the American people? Are they all paid for? Because that's what it sounds like he's saying, doesn't it? Anybody disagree with me? It does kind of sound that way, doesn't it? It does sound that way. That it just feels nuts to me. Even this guy over here, he wrote, if the IRA monstrosity passes, at least it will have resources to police crooked charities. Okay. That's what I said. Okay. I'm not sure I'd agree with that. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's bizarro world. It really is. It's bizarro world indeed. This Inflation Reduction Act, by the way, which really does kind of seem like it's, all about getting a bunch of agents to make sure that all of us are not giving $20 to our kids on their birthdays. You got to claim that if it's a gift. Could you imagine if that's where it comes to? They're gonna come down. You have a lemonade stand and you're doing cash business, right? Well, that's why they're trying to get rid of cash, because they know that if they can get everybody on a digital currency, then that's the way to trace everything and track everything. Well, this beast mode, which I talked about in my last video. If you haven't seen it, just go back and watch it. It was a great video. I got to tell you, these produced videos that I do, they take so much effort, so much time, and it's so much harder to do. And man, I just don't get the traction. It seems like the live shows are the way to go. Do me a favor in the comment section after the video. Tell me if you prefer live shows or if you prefer the produced shows, because live shows I can do more of. They're a lot easier to upload. They're a lot easier for me. I don't have to worry about sound design and graphics and all that stuff. I can just kind of go with the flow. Seems like most people on YouTube are doing a live, but I like a produced show. I like things to flow really cool, and I like music. So the beast mode IRS, is it going to target the middle class? You tell me. You tell me. I don't know. No, who knows? Who knows anything? But I do know that now we've heard this, that his tax returns must be given to Congress. He's going to court now to New York, I believe. Tax returns of former President Trump and related entities must be turned over to the House. The decision's the latest blow to Trump, who's repeatedly lost legal efforts to shield his tax returns and business-related documents from various investigations. Now, see, here's the thing. If you look at it from just like the perspective of right now, I don't like the way things are going in our country. I don't. I haven't liked it for a while. They're really, they've never given him a break. They've always been on him. All of this stuff that's happening to him now has happened before. You look at it and you say, is he a good guy? Is he really bringing down the system? Maybe he is. I don't know. I hope it's true. And if it's true, then, forgive me for casting any kind of doubt, because it does seem that everyone is coming against him. But if he's back in power again, they didn't do a very good job. That's the question. Like, why does he always end up on top? He had a lot of meetings. When he became president, he did some big things. He went around and he got everybody to kind of get in line. Remember, I think the first trip was to Saudi Arabia, and they gave him like the sword, and it was like, that's very symbolic of kind of being. And then he went over here, and then he went over there, and then he went all to the heads of all the, the big tech, the Googles, the Facebooks, and all that. And it was all about the censorship stuff, which is weird, though, because in lockstep, when all this stuff happened, they all booted him from a platform. So the question becomes, could it have been some kind of like, hey, this is the direction we're going? You're going to make it look like, you better get in line because this is part of a bigger plan, or not. People just don't like him. And they're like, just zip it already. But it did pave the way for him to start his own social media company. So we have questions. I have questions like, who designed this hat? Who designed this hat? Who designed it? If you know anything about me and you've been watching the show long enough, You know that there's a lot of occult, weird stuff that's kind of connected. I have a show called the Trump Paradox. I'll show you where to find all these things towards the end of the program. But there's a lot of stuff like him being born on a blood moon, that his, his kind of his family, their claim to fame back in the day was like a brothel, like a bar. And, so a lot of this stuff is interesting. The name of the White Horse was the name of it. And there's just so much that's just super weird. The 66th floor is his penthouse, and it was Devil's Advocate was filmed there, and there's a lot of weird stuff. But this was weird because and maybe it's just a total coincidence. But you look at that and you think, wow, well, you got the 1 star, you got the 1 star, you got the horns, you got the horns, right? You got the eyes, you got the nose, you got the mouth, you got the eyes, you got the nose, and that's the Baphomet. And if you know anything about the Baphomet, ironic, there's a tie to the Muslim faith here. I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough. But the Templars, the Knights Templar, this was like a big thing for them. It's very strange. But a lot of people told me, they're like, oh, no, that's not real. That's not real. That's not the official. We looked it up. Oh, you shouldn't be spreading fake news. I had a lot of people. Because you know what? You've believed something and you put your faith in something, and you don't want that faith to be shook. Just like, I don't want my faith to be shook in the things that I put my faith in. I don't want to be told that, the person that I admire and respect is, could possibly be a great, magician. I don't want to be told that, when I'm wearing my MAGA hat because I think that it's Make America Great Again, and I have MAGA all over the red hat, and I don't want to be told that in Latin it means witchcraft. I don't want to be told that it's the highest form of Satanism. It's like the 5th degree in Satanism. It's like you're a master. I don't want to be told that. So I get it. I got a lot of people were like, you made it up. You made it up. It's not real, not official. Well, it is. And not only is it official, the more research I did and looked into it, that I found it was only available by Trump. It was made by his re-election camp. This was the official Donald Trump Space Force that was made for the Donald Trump campaign. That's why this guy, the White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, he got in trouble for this. He got in trouble for wearing this. Not just because he looked like a total meatball. He did kind of look goofy wearing a Stars and Stripes shirt with that, getting off the plane. And he was in a lot of memes. But he shouldn't be. He's working for the White House. He shouldn't be promoting Donald Trump's merch. That's Donald Trump's merch, people. I'm sorry. I know that it bothered some people, but that's 100% what it is. It's just, it is what it is. What are you going to do? It is what it is. You can't get upset at me because it's a fact. That's the hat, and it's suspect. Suspect. I did a show a little while ago, maybe almost a year ago, called The Wizard of Us. And is he the great magician? Now, you remember Kanye, right? Now, a lot of people would have no problem with me doing, shows and exposing all the symbolism and all the weird stuff connected to Kanye. Did anybody ever question why, the biggest name in music was a big-time Trump supporter, wearing the MAGA hat himself? Now he wears, I don't know if you ever watched Harry Potter, the Dementors, those spooky ghouls that have no face. Now he wears that all the time, every time he goes out. But the question is he the Wizard of Oz? So I do this show about this, and then, of course, what happens? He becomes the literal Wizard of Oz by getting Dr. Oz elected. I mean, these things, you can't even make this stuff up. This is just all too great. All too great, All too great. Esther, thank you so much for the supers chat. I appreciate that. And if anybody else, if I missed you, I'll come back and I'll find you later. I appreciate it. And we almost got 2,000 people watching. Wouldn't it be great to get 2,000 people watching? I haven't had 2,000 people watching. And why? Because over 1,000 of you have hit the like. And my goodness, God bless you all. Thank you so much. My goodness, can't do this without you. Can't do this without you. Can't do it. Can't reach as many people. And here's the thing. I just want people to think. I don't want people to just believe, just because, look, I liked Trump, okay? I like him. I have a history, believe it or not, if you don't know this, I have a history with his family, which is weird. When I was younger, Jacob had a pillow, the rock that he rested on, where he had the dream of the ladder. I sold a pillow to Ivana Trump when she was like 18. I was in my 20s. I was working at this place called Relax the Back. She came in with her friends, sold a pillow. Donald Trump, I ended up, when I was working at WWE, I was the head writer for me and one other guy for WWF when it was WWF. Trump, very good friends with Vince McMahon. Came to a house show, and I watched him front row with Melania get fake blood spit all over him by a vampire named Gangrel. His name's David. Nice guy, wrestler. Wasn't even supposed to wrestle that night. Vince put him up to it. It was a gag. It was weird. Trump shaved Vince McMahon's hair in the ring. There's just a lot of weird stuff that's connected to all this. A lot of weird stuff. And we have to start to question, who do we believe? Who do we put our trust in? And do we even have a say? I don't think that a political figure can save America. But it would be great if somebody came in that was moral and just, that could do something like that. But then when the House gets raided, on 8-8, you start to wonder, was that text Trump at 8-8? Was this something? Was this a whole thing? I don't know. It's a stretch. I think the whole thing's a stretch. But not so much a stress that you don't think to yourself, maybe there's a reason I did that video a couple of years ago. Presidents for life. I said the new pharaohs rise. This was almost 3 years ago. And the question is, you got one president, check, president for life. Then you got another president, check. And then there's the question mark. There's the question mark. And when you have everybody on the Republican side saying, you've set the precedent, you're going to reap it, we're going to get you, they're all saying that. You've set the precedent. You've raided their homes. Guess what? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Everybody's with this rhetoric, right? It's almost getting, and then people, they're going to cheer for it, right? But what happens if some of the people aren't bad people that they come after? Some of the people aren't bad at all. What happens? What happens if people that have a faith outside of the world faith that they say? What happens? What do we do then? What do we do then? I don't know. There was a video that Trump tweeted out, which I thought was pretty funny when he was president. And it was a thing where you just saw the years go by of how many years he's going to rule, be in charge, be the president. I don't know if you saw it. It was a really good video, but the numbers go and you see Trump kind of, smile and everything else. And you got, years after years. And this is forever, Trump forever. And he tweeted that out. He also retweeted a picture of Trump playing the violin, calm before the storm and all. You won't know what's coming next. That's Nero, the Caesar. By the way, August was named after Augustus Caesar. 8 BC, they changed it. So you have August 8th, a Caesar. But here's the thing. He actually brought in a time of, peace. He kind of brought some order and everything else. He was the only Caesar who was in charge of Rome, that was in charge of the world, that, died of natural causes too. So is this a good thing? Is he coming to save the day? And that's why everybody's persecuting him. It sure looks like the people that are against him are pretty corrupt, right? Is he the chosen one? He said that he was. He said he was. That's nothing new. We all know that, right? I'm the chosen one. I'm the one that was chosen to deal with China, he was saying. But people took it to mean something else. And why? Because you got so many people in Israel saying he's the Messiah, the Moshiach. Now, if you know anything about the Moshiach is, it's the name of the Messiah, but it's a little different than what we would consider to be. He could be just a world ruler. He could be a tyrant, believe it or not. Could be. The one that just delivers and sets people free and, brings God's rule, harsh rule to the land, some would say. I don't know. But he really didn't declare himself the king of Israel. He didn't really declare himself to be the second coming of God. These articles are very disingenuous, but he did say people call him that. And they do. You got a lot of people that kind of worship him. You got people that put tattoos of Trump on their neck and on their face and all sorts of things. And that's cool, whatever. The question becomes, though, what happens if the people that you idolize, that you make an idol, that you worship, what if they're not so great? Once again, I can't judge the man's character. I can only judge the tree by its fruit. There's a lot of fruit on that tree. You don't want to judge him for his, massive infidelity and anything else like that. Because, a lot of people do that, right? I don't, but a lot of people do. You don't want to judge him for a lot of other things, but people do. In a secret recording, he was told by, I know Rudy Giuliani was there, and it says Rudy Giuliani and Lev Parnas was there. And in the secret recording, which was released timely, because it was released right January 2020, they all said, look, you're like the Messiah. Everybody's saying you're the Messiah. And Trump was like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm pretty cool. And in Israel, they put him on a coin. He's just put on another coin, too. I forgot to load that. But this was, and he charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem. And he did. He moved. He did what no other president did. Well, the media was making Donald J. Trump look like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He was making massive moves. He did massive things. And nobody could seem to stop. So they continued to make it look like he was getting nothing done, but the guy was getting everything done. He moved the embassy. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Interesting, right? Now, so the story of him being like this Messiah character really seems to play out. And then he was betrayed by one of his disciples. He was betrayed by Pence. They call him the Judas. If you remember this? I would like to point out that what happened in January, right now we see all the stuff going on, and that's what the raid is probably about, because they wouldn't turn in, I guess he wouldn't turn in documents, so they came and raided everything, took his cell phone, there are no rights here. This is a terrible thing to happen if this isn't some sort of setup. Because for everything that happened in the beginning, he seemed to be doing okay. Everything seems to still be going his way. Everything still seems to be going according to plan. He's very close with Putin, it seems. He's very close with Xi, it seems. It seems that he, has good relationships. With North Korea shook Kim Jong-un's hand. These guys, they all, right? He's expressed how, maybe a dictatorship's the way to go. He said, I'd rather be a dictator than dumb. Literally. I'm not saying that that's what he's going to be, but I am saying on August 8th, 2022, Ashura is about being set free from a tyrant. So it's just strange. It's strange. Did you know that Judas, he was actually handed a coin? What was this about? Is that your piece of silver? Is that a 30 pence piece of silver? I don't know what it was, but he was given a coin. And so it's like, it just seems to be playing out. But why hold the rally right there that day? Why were people called home that should have been protecting? Why were people opening doors that should have never opened doors? Why was it, let's go over there, right? Why? You got to question these things. That's why I was on the channel back in the day. I was telling you all, because I had this weird dream. I'm going to share it with you, so I'm not making up stories, where I was like, I don't know if I'd buy into all this. told everybody, don't get crazy over this thing that's going down with this whole thing with Pence. Don't get crazy over it. And a lot of people did. They got crazy over it. A lot of people fell victim of it. People were invited in, and now they're in jail. It's terrible. Wouldn't it be even worse if this was all some big scheme to just get a majority of people to believe so that you got this regime that's in charge? That's it. That's it. They kind of did that in another place. All right, you know what? Let me pull up that dream for you. And let's take a look, see if I have it. Hopefully, let me just double check here. Hopefully I have it. I'm trying to remember. There we go. 226 to something. All right. Good. Let me pull that up. Give me a sec. So here you see, that was the thumbnail. That was October 10th. See, it was kind of like, will they try to fake it? That was the question. You know, that being not just a picture of his literal death, but like political and death as a power figure in the world. Will they try to fake it? So just take a listen to this. Hopefully you can hear it okay. And it's going to start at, let me get past the ad there. Let me just mute it so that the ad will play and you don't hear the ad. And let's skip that ad. Let's go over here and boom. Okay. Now notice this right here, the 25th Amendment. At this point in time, this was kind of a big deal. And I'm wondering if it's going to become a big deal for another president that we have right now. But just take a listen here. Let's see if it comes on. Hopefully you can. So let me just get right into it. Okay, let me get right into this. So I have a dream. It's a very strange dream. I don't pay much attention to it. In the dream, and it was a couple of them, but this one was the one that stood out the most. In the dream, I, for some reason, was like with one arm was carrying like the casket of our president. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it was open. But on the left-hand side of me, there was our president. So it was very strange. There was like, it was one in the casket with the casket wide open. There was also, I remember there being like, I noticed there was moss on the bottom of that moss, by the way, a lot of you helped me with. Swamp moss. That's what it was, the swamp. So the coffin having swamp moss underneath, very symbolic of a political death. Of the casket moss that was growing there. There's got to be some deeper meaning. I haven't taken a second to think about it. So if you know, put it in the comments section. But maybe this dream means nothing, right? I didn't think it meant anything. I didn't come on here and share it with you. But in the dream, the president was smiling, he was laughing, he was having a great old time. And here I am carrying this, and I didn't understand. I'm like, oh! And then I woke up and I'm like, so it's like, maybe he's in on it. I don't know. I mean, this is something that, like, when I had that's when I started telling everybody, look, this is not going to go the way you think. So don't get too freaked out about all this stuff. It's not great. It's not great, Law and order is kind of the thing that he's talking about the most today. So this is, did everybody hear that okay, by the way? I want to make sure that everybody heard what I was saying. And wow, we have almost 2,500 people watching. That is a record. That is a record. Thank you all for helping me get to that mark. This is, this is a strange time for us all. But law and order is the thing right now. Trump makes law and order pitch. It's like, because things are so out of control that, it's law and order needs to come to pass, right? We need the law and order right now. Do we not? Do we not? And so I think we're going to get that. I don't think we're going to be too happy with it, because we already see all these videos where, people are being arrested. There are people that are being arrested for just sharing memes or sharing memes because they're opposed to a totalitarian style of, getting arrested now. You hurt somebody's feelings. And that happened, I don't know if that was in Canada or if it was the UK, but this is something else. So all of this is like, we are going to crack down on crime. We're going to make sure that this comes to an end. We're going to keep you safe. We're going to keep you safe. Don't you want to be safe? Aren't you done of being scared? We're going to keep you safe. Crazy. All of this stuff is crazy. So you got to question. You got to question these things because you don't know. You don't know. When you got somebody who says, I'd rather be a dictator than a dumb person, I guess it wouldn't be bad to have somebody who's a dictator if they're moral and just and they're righteous. You'd want to have like a king over you, like a King David or something, even though King David, not that great, right? If you started liking somebody and they were married, even though the person that was Bathsheba's husband, even he was like loved King David so much. He was like such a fan. He probably had a King David hat that he wore. He slept outside the gate to protect King David. King David the whole time was like, I like your wife. Let's send you off to the hottest part of the battle so you get killed because I knocked your wife up and I'd rather have you dead than face the embarrassment of that. And then I want to marry her. And that's how he ended up losing his kingdom. Power corrupts. Absolute power, as they say, corrupts absolutely. But if you have somebody who says, I'd rather be a dictator than a dumb person, that would get me a little worried. The fact that law and order is being shouted from the rooftops gets me a little worried. You know why? Because he's calling for like the death penalty of drug dealers. I don't like drug dealers. I don't like them. But there are some drug dealers that are like little kids that are like poor and they get pulled into this stupid gang and they don't know what else to do and they're threatened and then they have to do what they're told. They're victims. We're going to put everybody to death? What about the pharma? What about big pharma? Literally killing people. Not all the time, right? And I don't have any of the proof to back that up, but there is like reporting that's going on. Truth's coming out. What about that? What about the biggest fraud organization of all time? The biggest payment that was ever made was paid by the guy, the major wackadoo creator. Biggest fraud ever. And now everybody's still getting one after the other. Everybody's still sick. It's ridiculous. I'm not. I haven't even caught it yet. Thank God. Please, I don't want to get sick. I don't like getting colds. I definitely don't want anything bad. Let me tell you something. He was paraded around as the God Emperor in an Italian parade. This animatronic thing, and he had his Twitter sword. He had like Putin on his shoulder. He's been on magazine covers. You know, we've done the breakdown of the magazine covers, you know, where he's sitting on the world on the card, the tarot card, right? Tarot, witchcraft, maga, witch in Latin, interesting. On top of the world, ruling the world, tells everybody what a weird poem to read again and again and again. You knew what I was when you brought me in. You brought me in, you knew what I was. He read that poem not once, not twice, I think like 3 times. Why? Why? He said that the snake poem that I'm reading is about immigration and all that. First time, I guess that's what he said. Doesn't really sound that way. Did anybody forget who's behind all of the funding that these people got? That's right. Operation Warp Speed. That's right. So you have to question these things. He's also the guy that said, one day it'll mysteriously disappear. Did you see how one day it just supposedly disappeared in our country? Did you notice that? What has he got a crystal ball? How did he know that one day it was going to mysteriously disappear? How did he know? Very strange. He actually got upset that they seemed to distance themselves from him, even though he said clearly he's behind it. And he's a big fan and supporter of it. He says that he's not for the dates of man, but who knows? Who knows, right? Because you can't trust somebody that lies. I'm not saying he's a liar, But if he does lie, and he has been caught in lies, everybody lies, unfortunately, sadly, we're all, but you got to question things. Like if you're going to say, I'm going to lock her up and we're going to do an investigation, and he's still tweeting about how 30,000 emails were bleached, were like whitewashed off of her computer, right? When there was an order to have it turned in, didn't turn it in, they actually whitewashed the computer. Why wasn't the FBI brought in there, right? That's the question. But the question becomes, you were president. Why didn't something happen? Why didn't something happen? That was a campaign promise. The first thing, it was a promise. Your word has power. You're only as good as your word. And if you can't keep your word, how can you trust anything? Here's another thing that's a little spooky. I'm a big fan of transparency. I don't like seeing civilians get killed. I don't like seeing any of this stuff. Why was it that Pompeo and this government's CIA, why was that a thing? Why was this a thing? Why is this guy still, this poor guy, right? What did he do? Released footage that somebody sent him? That's their thing? The press. There is no precedent for the press. Maybe if President Trump did something, was like, you know what? We're going to exonerate him. We want to have transparency. Now, maybe I'm being, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe I'm being immature. Maybe I have rose-colored glasses about how things could operate. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you need to be sneaky. Maybe you need to be devious. Maybe it was really bad for our homeland security. Maybe it was, right? Maybe we should have checkpoints everywhere where you can't get on a plane without taking off your shoes and your belt and your... Maybe, right? Maybe we should go back to... maybe we should be like what's going on over there in China right now, where like the streets are empty, people are going around spraying. They had like an army of people dressed up in hazmat suits walking. What is going on? Everybody in my house had the virus of the crown. My daughter had it the first time, was like nothing. Second time was like nothing again. She didn't have the that either. By the way, we were in New York. She got into every single school she applied to. Straight A's, honor student, got like scholarships everywhere. She wanted to go to Binghamton. She always wanted to go to Binghamton. I don't know why, but that was like a school that she always had in her mind. She got in, and she got into the super extended program, that like only a few people were invited into. It was like a big thing where like the heads of universities, like forward-thinking people, who's invited into this. Guess what she had to have if she wanted to go to Binghamton? She said, I don't want to have it. She was an adult, so she made her decision. I'm glad, because then she got it, and it was like nothing. And then she got it again just recently, and it was really like nothing. I think she had like a headache, and like a 99 fever, and then like the next day she was fine. But like 3 days later, she tested negative. This is all so strange. But you got to question the fruit. What is this about? What was Clinton about? What is going on? Pompeo's being called to court. He was called to a Spanish court to talk about this. There was a plot. I mean, what person can see this and think, yep, nothing to see here, everything's fine, right? How about the fact that this is connected to China? Truth Social. It's really weird. Really weird. So they made this conscious effort to censor, shut down, and everything else. What if that was part of the plan? I'm not saying it is. Once again, I'm a writer, and I'm thinking that would be a great way to get, if you wanted to take over a country, great way to do it is get people so angry that the solution becomes something that people are like, yes, please, take away all of our rights. We're on your side, so we have nothing to worry about until we do. He's doing okay. He's doing okay. Elon Musk promoted him, and now supposedly they had a little bit of a tiff. Just strange. All of this stuff is just so strange. What's weirder is that it happened on the day that it happened. Let's go back to this for a sec. I just want to pull this up one more time. I want you to take a look at this. So I'm going to come on over to the chat just to check on all of you. My goodness, if we break $3,000, I may just do a dance. I just may do a dance. More than half of you have hit the like. Thank you so much. And I see, Jennifer, you're the best. Thank you for your super chat. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate you all being here. This is going to end on a good note, I promise you. I know right now everything seems so weird and spooky. You notice Biff in the background, right? He from Back to the Future. He's a Back to the Future. That's no joke, Back to the Future. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Anybody remember this? That he was literally based on Donald Trump, who was in charge of everything? Very interesting, right? Very interesting. Back to the Future. You know what else is weird? Is that, ironically, he said that. Donald Trump said that. He just said this recently. He said, Back to the Future. You know Back to the Future? So he mentions Back to the Future, which is strange because in Back to the Future, a clock tower was hit. I think Donnie Darkened put something else up about that too. I was already on this. Back to the Future. I watched him say it, and he said, yeah, we got to go back to the way things were, Back to the Future. And so it wasn't like he was making but it was just the timing was weird. Because in Back to the Future, of course, a clock tower was hit, and there was a clock tower that was hit in Mecca, which is strange. Let me see if I can find it and pull it up for you. Well, I'll get to that in a second. But Back to the Future, about time travel. Ironically, I don't know if you know this, but there's like a theory out there that perhaps his son is a time traveler as well. That Donald Trump and all of them, that they've all been at this. You know this book, the Baron Trump, the Baron Trump books, The Marvelous Underground Journey, The Last President. That's weird, right? The Last President. Wouldn't that be weird if he is like that video I did 2 years ago? Check mark, question mark. If he's going to be the last president. This was written a long time ago. Is there nothing new under the sun? Speaking of Baron Trump, I don't know if you know this, the guy's like a giant. That's a picture of him, his son. I mean, it must be so hard growing up in a family that seems to be so hated by a portion of the country. But yeah, he sprouted up pretty tall. A good-looking guy. He's a smart young man too. I think he's a teenager. He's already over 6'6". He's a teenager. But of course, Back to the Future, Biff was based on the Trumpster. So strange. Back to the Future. Clock towers hit. Now this is where it gets weird. So there was. Now you remember what happened in Washington. You know about the clock tower being hit in Washington. And a bunch of people died. Really, really sad. Really, really sad. Kimberly Aragon, thank you very much for your super chat. By the way, if I ever miss you guys, it's because when I come over here, I really still don't know what I'm doing here. I still don't know how to do this stuff. But there was a viral video of the Mecca clock tower being hit. This is, you remember Back to the Future. You remember Back to the Future. Now, this is strange because Mecca, of course, very, very Muslim-oriented, right? Very strange, this weather that's been hitting there, and strange the timing of Trump saying what he said. All of it's just strange. But does that mean anything? It's just coincidental. It's just very coincidental. It's also very coincidental that, the monster that was known in Germany, they continue to liken him to him. Now, there are a lot of people that liken, that we're Biden our time to the same thing. And he has a history of not being the most race friendly. I don't know if you know anything about Biden's history. It's beyond me that this guy even became president to begin with, except for the fact that first time around we set it up. Then we really got to hammer the point home that you really need a strong leader. So what you do is you bring in somebody, as we're biding our time for the real leader to come over and take over. That messes everything up, makes everything super terrible. hyperinflation, this, that, war, all of these terrible things, food shortages, crisis. I mean, could there possibly be a worse president that we've seen? Like even Jimmy Carter wasn't this bad. People are saying it's a pretty bad guy. Really messed up. Guy can't even put on his jacket. People are showing the pictures of him. He can't even, he's poor guy, right? Poor guy. He's probably not the best guy. You heard about his daughter's journal, right? And not just that, but also Hunter's, the stuff that they say about their own father. You got to question it. You got to question it. There are sick people that are in power. We know this historically, that people that are in power are sick because power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts, they say absolutely. But you see this rhetoric going on all the time. This rhetoric, which you wonder, could something like this happen? Well, we have the recipes right here. Hyperinflation, craziness on the streets, anger, lack of, you just, people are angry. Why shouldn't they be with all that's going on? But was it done on purpose? Is this like the last ditch effort we're going to get everybody on the same page? Got to get everybody on the same page. We're going to put everybody under one roof. It may not look like we're under one roof, but we're going to do that. That's what NATO and all these organizations did. And if there was ever a guy that put everybody in their place, it would be President Donald J. Trump. He did put everybody in their place, even though it seems like he really didn't, but he kind of is the grand wizard. It just seems that way. Most persecuted president in history. Most persecuted. You know who else was persecuted? Christ. The Messiah was persecuted. He was persecuted. And Trump and others say he is the most persecuted. And it certainly seems that way. Certainly seems that way. You know what else is something that people like to talk about? His resurrection. Just type in Trump resurrection. You'll just get so many articles. The resurrection of Donald Trump, Trump and the resurrection, their books. Get ready. This is Rolling Stone from 2020 for the Trump resurrection run. 2024. This will not pass. Shows how Trump was resurrected. He seemed to lose everything, just like my dream. But there he was on the other side, laughing and dancing, which I've said, hey, that also could be God saying they're going to try to kill him, but he's going to be victorious in the end. I don't know because I don't know the man's heart. You judge a tree by its fruit. If he ends up in power and we see, you know what, we don't need a president anymore, then I think that maybe all of, my concern would be founded. But until then, I can't really say anything, except for the fact that there's just a lot of weirdness going on at CPAC. There was this prison set up. I don't know if you saw this, and they were all doing prayers, and they were singing the Our Father's prayer, and people are praying for the election, and they're praying, and that's good. You want to pray for the leaders, right? But this is Marjorie Taylor Greene praying with Trump supporter. That was, I guess he's homosexual. He was crying inside a fake jail cell. What I read about him was that he kind of ratted people out and he didn't get in trouble. I don't know if that's true, though, but he just kind of stayed there. It was like art, I guess, and he just cried and cried and cried, and it was symbolic of what's happening to the insurrectionists. Once again, Hunger Games. Hunger Games, the movie. All of these movies, Back to the Future, all of these movies, who's to say that we're not in a loop and that we're not being primed? We're being told what's going to happen before it happens. So when it happens, we're not shocked. We're like, oh, this feels familiar. This feels familiar. I remember this. It's a great delusion. The great delusion is upon us. That's the question. Is the great delusion upon us? Have we all been hornswoggled? Let's go into the scripture. I want to end on this. And once again, I don't I don't know the ins and the outs of everything. Thank you very much, Judy. Thank you very much, Kimberly. If I missed you once again, and thank you all of you. Oh my goodness, we could do 3,000. Come on, people, hit the like. That's never happened before. All of a sudden, I'm getting Marf numbers all of a sudden. And David, yes, I'm sick of it all too. I really want people to come together. All right, let's pull this up. Now, this is in 2 Thessalonians. Let me just make sure that I'm transferred over. Good. Now, this is the man of lawlessness. Now, I got to tell you something. I want to tell you right off the bat, and I want to be very clear that this man of lawlessness, this Antichrist, this beast, it may be reflected in a single man, sure, but the beast, the Antichrist, I have videos on this. I have essays on this, jacobisrael.com. That's my website. Go there, subscribe. It's not a person outside of you. It's the man of lawlessness that's within us already. In the temple of God, declaring themselves to be God. We're the temple of God, okay? But this is very appropriate for what we're going through, okay? And this is actually also a revelation for some people. Some people are going to catch this. Concerning the coming, and that word coming, if you've been on the channel long enough, you know Erick. It means a revealing, a manifestation of our Lord Jesus Christ and our being gathered to him, becoming one with him. Okay, so this is concerning the coming of Christ and us being gathered to him. That's important for us to understand when reading the rest. It's not concerning the next election. It's not concerning the state of the United States. It's concerning the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our being gathered to him. We ask you, brothers and sisters, not to become uneasily unsettled, or alarmed by the teaching allegedly from us, whether by prophecy or by word of mouth or by letter, asserting that the day of the Lord has already come. So what they're saying is, now you got to remember something. This is after Christ was resurrected. So the day of the Lord had come, but why are they saying the day of the Lord hasn't yet come? Because it's not come for everybody, okay? You'll see that soon. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way. For that day, the day concerning our Lord Christ being gathered to him, will not come until the rebellion occurs and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the man doomed to destruction. Now, I don't think that that's a literal man, but it will be revealed in a literal man. It will be revealed in all of man. Christ can't come until we rebel against Christ, and that man of lawlessness, which is within us, that sinful nature, is revealed. The sinful nature that's doomed to be destroyed. Now, the ego of man, that's the Antichrist, if you will, the id, the carnal ego, will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple. Who's God's temple, everybody? Point to your temples. That man of lawlessness sets himself up in God's temple. The man of lawlessness, the one that is lawless, the one that is doomed for destruction, that has rebelled against God and everything that is godly, exalts himself over God by killing somebody who doesn't agree with them, by not forgiving, by condemning based on ignorance, by doing things that are just not right, but justifying it. Like attacking someone you don't understand and saying God told you. People will execute people in the name of God. They do it now. They'll do it in the future because they love wickedness. They don't get it. They think that the one that's in them, the thoughts that they think, are godly. But yet they actually oppose everything that is God and everything that is worship. So he sets himself up, the Antichrist, sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming that he's God. That's the voice in your head saying, oh, you can't take that. Oh, you better do this. Oh, you knew that was going to happen. Oh, what's the point of doing things right? You'll never get ahead. That's the Antichrist whispering in you. You think it's you. This is a spiritual battle, people. Don't you remember when I was with you? I told you these things, and now you know what's holding Christ from coming back. People are lawless. People are wicked. That's why you see wicked things happen. You want to know why Christ isn't come? Because you're still wicked in your heart, and you haven't asked for the truth, and you're not repenting, and you're not doing good works. You're not. You haven't given your life to the Lord. That's what's holding him back. You have to wait for the man of... You have to realize you're the problem, so that he may be revealed at his proper time. For the secret power of lawlessness is already at work, but the one who now holds it back will continue to do so until taken out of the way. Then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord Jesus will overthrow with the breath of his mouth and destroy with the splendor of his coming. Words have power. They are a sword if you take the S off the end and put it before the W. Sword, words. The breath of his mouth, the splendor of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is in accordance to how Satan works. He lies. He uses all sorts of displays of power through signs and wonders that serve the lie. Could this be right here? Let me just pull this back. Could all the stuff that we're looking at, could that be signs and wonders of lies? To get us to believe a certain thing? To get us to follow after the lie? To continue on in our hateful ways? You know, people showed up in force. People showed up in force, and you have all these people calling for civil war. Will you be justified to take arms against somebody who's a Democrat? If people are thinking this, that's delusional. That's a grand delusion. That's because the lawless one is in your head whispering. Because you know that Christ taught, we got to forgive, we got to love. But the lawless one, not a big fan of that stuff. Not a big fan of that. So let's get back to this. Okay. The coming of the lawless one will be in accordance to how Satan works. He uses all sorts of displays of power. Who's the beast system? The people that are in charge. The people that are saying you got to do this or you can't work. The people that are saying you can't open your store. The people that are saying you got to wear a mask unless, one of our representatives comes in to get their haircut. Haircut, Pelosi, Harry, right? Harry Pelosi. That's what her name means. Carnality at its finest. All the ways of wickedness deceive those who are perishing. They perish because they refused to love the truth and be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion, so they believe the lie. And so they will be condemned who have not believed the truth, but have delighted in wickedness. This is the day we're in. People are delighting in wickedness, and they're calling it good. But we ought to thank God always, brothers and sisters. I thank God for all of you on the channel because God chose you as first fruits to be saved through the sanctifying work of the Spirit, the cleansing of wickedness and hate and all that stuff. God is still working on me. We're not finished. We're clay in the potter's hand, formed and reformed. And if we mess up, we're going to be broken and then gathered together and then formed again. He called you to this through our gospel, good news, that you might share in the glory. The glory is the revealing of Lord Jesus Christ in your heart. So brothers and sisters, everyone listening today, stand firm. Hold fast to the teachings that we've passed on to you. Hold fast to the stuff that I've said here about how important it is to seek God and to love. Whether by word of mouth or letter, may our Lord Jesus Christ himself and God our Father, who loved us and by his grace gave us eternal encouragement and good hope, encourage your hearts and strengthen you in every good word and deed. Isn't that a nice way to end the show? Don't be part of the grand delusion, people. Don't be part of it. Be part of the solution. And the only way that's going to happen is for this wickedness to be revealed. And right now, it doesn't seem like doesn't seem. And once again, we can hold out hope as I go to the chat to say goodbye to everybody. We can hold out hope that maybe he wants to save America. I don't know. Maybe things are going to come together. Maybe things are going to be fine. I don't know. I can't tell you. But I do know I love all of you. I do know I'm grateful that you all came here today. I do know that today we broke a record. We broke a record. Over 2,600 people watching, and it's thanks to all of you. I love you so much. Do me a favor. Share the channel around, will you? Will you? You know, you get yourself a copy of the novel. You get yourself a copy of the novel, the Amazon. It's the links are in the description below. Hook up with me on Twitter. You know, really, today, if you're on Twitter, JacobIsrael71. And, just let me know and I'll follow you back. I don't even know how any of that works, but I'll do it. And because I like tweeting. I do. And I love all of you. Have the best day ever. God bless you.